All right. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us on the next in our series of online classes that are uh, brought to you in partnership between the Smithville Area Chamber of Commerce and the Smithville Public Library, with some wonderfully generous funding partners that I'm going to allow our library director, Judy Bergeron, to acknowledge. Judy?
Thank you very much, April, and thank you all for being here. We're very excited to be able to offer this series of wonderful virtual classes. Thank you to the Chamber for partnering with us. And our funders are the Institute for Museum and Library Services, and it's through the Texas State Library and Archives Commission. We hope that everybody has a chance to look over, especially our local businesses, small businesses, to look over some of these classes, and it will improve their COVID recovery. So that's our goal. And we're very excited to have Kevin Hutchison returning because he's got some wonderful tips and tricks, not just out on the water with his fly fishing, but also with his business operations. So welcome, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. I appreciate that. And as always, we so appreciate those of you that are logging in today, whether you're here live or you're watching later in our virtual setting. Kevin has already taught one fantastic class, which you can always go back and watch at www.smithvilletx.org and click on events, and you'll see all of our virtual classes. They're also all available on our Facebook page, the Smithville Area Chamber of Commerce Facebook page, as well as the library Facebook page. All of these classes will be available in perpetuity, as they say, on these sites, and we will be offering these classes through the end of August of this year. So without any other thing to add to that, other than if you are on today as a student, please feel free to type in any questions that you have for Kevin anytime during his presentation. Just use the chat feature at the bottom of your screen, or at the end. We'll have a few minutes left for any question and answers. So Kevin, with that, I'll let you introduce yourself and take it away.
Great. Thank you. My name is Kevin Hutchison. I own a couple of local businesses. Primarily, the one I'm going to be talking about today is Hill Country Fly Fishers. We've been in business for our 28th year this year. And we're a fly fishing guide company. We also do educational classes for the community. We do corporate work. We do a lot of different things. So primarily what I'm going to be talking about is relating to that business and kind of my customer aftercare plan. As April mentioned, if you hadn't looked at my first presentation, which was building loyal customers, you might want to check that out because I'm going to cross-reference a lot of things with that today, because really, truly, customer aftercare begins before anything really happens. If you don't have a plan for customer aftercare, and if you don't think about that in advance, you're already behind the 8 ball. So what I'd like to do today is kind of talk about my customer aftercare planning and what I do, why I do it, and how I do it. So what's first thing we have to do is we have to kind of define what we're trying to achieve with customer aftercare. And I have three basic things that I want to achieve by having a good customer aftercare plan. Number one is I want return business. As I said in my first presentation, keeping a customer is much, much easier than going out and getting a customer. It's much more cost effective to put a little effort into taking care of that customer and meeting their needs than it is to go out and get a brand new customer. So the number one priority, or the number one reason that I put so much effort into my customer aftercare, is to simply just keep the customers I have. The second is an outgrowth of the internet, and that's to generate good customer reviews. I have numerous websites. I have an Instagram site, a Facebook site. I have an internal website through Orvis, which is the largest fly fishing company in the world. They maintain it for me, and they curate my reviews. And they get hits. It's amazing. I get all the background information on that, and they get literally hundreds of hits a week, where people are reading my reviews. And we all know, if we're in business, we know that just one bad customer review can really hurt you. 2 or 3 of them can kill you. I'm proud to say that my Orvis site, you can go on and look at it, has, as of today, 96 5-star reviews, no 4 stars, no 3 stars, twos or ones, all 5 stars. I actually had all of my reviews taken off Yelp because I had over 150 5-star reviews, and they sent me an email and said nobody gets 150 5-star reviews without at least 1, 4, or 3-star review. So they thought that all of my reviews were bogus and they took them all down, which I thought was funny. They also offered, by the way, to put them all back up if I bought an ad with them. So I thought that was funny too. Anyway, good customer reviews. Good aftercare is just part of that. Obviously, I have to provide a good service to get those reviews, but good aftercare, that last interaction that you have with a customer before they leave your store or your location, that leaves a very lasting impression. And I'll talk a little bit more about how people leave from one of my fishing trips in a little bit. And then the third thing is word of mouth advertising. There is no stronger advertising in the world than word of mouth advertising. You can spend all you want on social media, on newspapers, on radio, on television, and it's never going to be as much as Uncle Bill telling you that he had a good experience. Personal recommendations, someone you trust, someone you know saying, this guy's the real deal, you need to go with him. That makes all the difference in the world. And in one way, you can say you can't buy that. In another way, you can buy that. You can buy that with goodwill. You can buy that with a few of the things I'm going to show you. You can buy that with planning. You have to plan ahead. That's how you get there. So the three things: return business, good customer reviews, and word of mouth advertising. That's why we do customer aftercare. That's part of the goal. It dovetails in with our service goals that we had in the very first presentation that we talked about. So let's talk a little bit about when customer aftercare really starts. And again, I'd like to emphasize that you have to have a game plan for this. This isn't something that you just make up because it requires a lot of planning. It should look spontaneous. It should look to the customer that, oh, here, I got some things for you, like you didn't plan this out. But in reality, you have to plan this out for a few reasons. But we'll talk about those too. One of the very first things that you need to do to provide good customer aftercare is that you need to get information about your customer. Now, for me, it's a little bit easier than having a retail establishment. I worked in retail for years and years, and I know that retail establishments, your interaction with a customer may be as short as 30 seconds, and you don't have a whole lot of time to get information. But try to get as much information as you can out of people to find out what they really want. There's a great saying that I just have kind of lived my life by, my business life by, and it was by Herb Kelleher, the founder of Southwest Airlines. He had a sign on his desk that was often quoted and often misunderstood. And the sign on his desk said, "The customer is always wrong, but they're always the customer." And that seemed like, on the surface of it, kind of a hostile way to treat customers. But in reality, I actually had the opportunity to talk to Herb Cole before he passed away. And he explained it to me. And he said, most customers truly don't know exactly what they want. They have a general idea, but they don't know exactly what they want because they're not in the business of whatever they're doing. They're not in the airline business. They're not in the fly fishing business. So they may know generally what they want, but you have to help educate them. You have to help them down that trail to find out what they really want. And the way to do that is quite simple, is to gather information. Um, Again, I have an advantage. People contact me via email and they say, I want to go fishing. Well, that's a pretty broad term. So I start asking questions. And in that midst of asking questions, I may get them on the phone and talk to them. And while I'm talking to them, there may be some small talk. Oh, oh, that's great. We talk about fishing, and then all of a sudden, oh, have you got some plans this weekend before the trip? Oh, yeah, well, we're going to go do a brewery tour. What does that tell you? Right away, that tells you the guy likes to drink beer or he likes to go on little adventures. Anything that you can glean from a customer, anything at all, is information that will help you plan for the post experience, the post purchase experience, whether that's in your retail store or in an event like mine. So I glean tons and tons of information. And the reason I do that is I want to tailor my aftercare to that person. specifically to that person. And I'll tell a few funny stories when I get to that. Another thing is if you can plan ahead and you can get information about your folks and what they really want and what they enjoy doing, you can actually cut the cost of some of your items that you may give a customer or that you may provide for a customer. And just a real quick story about that. One of the things I'm going to show you later on is the gift baskets that I give to my customers. And most of them include alcohol. They include beer or they include spirits. Well, I have a lot of customers that are Mormons, and Mormons don't imbibe in alcohol. And it's really important to know that ahead of time so that I don't show up with my customer aftercare basket loaded up with beer and spirits. So things like that, that's just wasted money. If I show up with that, it ends up getting given to their neighbors or whatever, or thrown away, and that's a waste of money. So getting information ahead of time, finding out what your people do and don't like, what they do and don't use, that's going to help you on customer aftercare. It's going to help you cut your costs, and it's all about cutting costs sometimes. And the other thing is consistent treatment of customers. One of the things that it's good to know about and to kind of know information about your customers is that you may have a customer that loves to do all the same things you love to do. And you have a tendency when you have a customer like that to just load them up with stuff, give them all kinds of gifts. And oh my goodness, I love this. And I was just getting started and this was wonderful. And I did this and I did that. And before you know it, you've given one customer a whole lot more stuff or a whole lot more attention than you've given other customers. And believe it or not, in a small community like the fly fishing community, people talk to each other. And although you didn't intend to do it, you now have hurt one person's feeling because they feel a little inadequate because they didn't get the red carpet treatment or what they perceive to be the red carpet treatment that the other person got. So having a little bit of information about the client and their needs and their wants will help you kind of smooth things out a little bit and not really load up one customer over another one. So let's talk about non-tangibles. Okay, we're going to talk about swag, and that's kind of what I was talking about before, things that you're going to physically give a customer. But let's talk about non-tangibles, aftercare non-tangibles. One of the easiest things you can do, very, very simple. If you can get a customer's email address or phone number or cell phone number, anything like that, after they purchase something from you or after they buy the experience that you're selling, to follow up with an email, with a text message, with a snail mail message if you have the ability to get their address. I almost always have either the cell phone number or the email address of my clients because that's frankly how they contact me is via email or through text. And before I even get home, I have sent them a thank you text, a thank you email. Thank you for a great day on the river. Thank you for a wonderful day. Thank you for the funny stories. Whatever it is, personalize it. Make it applied to them. No boilerplate stuff here. No copy and paste. You have to write something that specifically says what happened in your experience. If you have a customer that comes in and you have a retail establishment and they're looking for the perfect wedding gift or whatever, and you help them get that gift, write them a thank you and say, you know what, I really enjoyed helping you find that gift for that wedding. You know, please come back the next time you need something. You would be shocked at how far that goes. It goes very far. I always follow up with a text message, with an email or a snail mail. Now, one of the things that people balk at this and they say, well, I don't have that information. You know, I only interacted with them for a little bit. I may have gotten their phone number, but I can't send them a thank you card because I don't have their address. Or I have their cell phone number, but you can't look up cell phone numbers. And that's not true. There are plenty of services that are available for a subscription that you can trace cell phone numbers and get addresses. Now, that may seem a little invasive, whatever, as long as you don't abuse it and as long as you're not sending them sales material, people really don't balk at you sending them a thank you card. I have sent out hundreds of thank you cards in the mail, and I have yet to have somebody write back to me and say, where did you get my address? I didn't give you my address. I don't want to be bothered at home by a thank you card. It's different when you solicit business and when you say thank you. And if it's a sincere thank you, a handwritten thank you card, that's important. Again, no boilerplate stuff here. Handwritten thank you card When I have a customer that just blows it out of the water and I really had a great time and I really want to earn them as a customer, I'll send them a handwritten thank you card. I'll slip a little fishing fly inside of it, and I'll just say, hey, this is the one you're going to use next time we go fishing. And that's it. You just tack that on the end of it. But the overall idea here is to thank your customers. Let them know that you appreciate what they're doing. And again, I said this in my very first presentation. I don't sell bread, I don't sell eggs, and I don't sell milk. You don't need anything that I do. I am a 100% luxury item. You don't need to go fishing. You want to go fishing, but you don't need to. And I have to acknowledge that. And I acknowledge that with my customers by saying, I understand that you are taking your hard earned money and spending it on something that you do not need. And I appreciate that. And I want to earn that. I want to do everything I can to justify you spending your hard earned money with me. So, using those online subscription or those online tracing tools, and there's 100 of them, you can look them up. I don't even know which one I use. I pay a subscription. I think I pay 20 something dollars a month, and I'm able to track email addresses and get physical addresses, or cell phone numbers and get physical addresses. And it comes in handy. There'll be times that I'll be fishing with somebody and they'll say, oh man, I love this food. One of the things I make on my trips is hummus, and everybody likes my homemade hummus. And oh, I'd love to have that recipe. And you'd be amazed at the goodwill you get when you copy that hummus recipe by hand onto a thank you card and send it to a physical address and say, hey, I remember you mentioned on the trip that you really wanted this hummus recipe. Here it is. Thanks for the trip. Look forward to fishing with you again. Boom, done. And what did that cost you? It cost you a little bit of time, a little bit of stationery, and a stamp. And for what I charge for trips, that's a pretty good investment. So I'm getting away pretty cheap on that one. So don't let that stand in your way. Don't defeat yourself by saying, oh, I can't find an address, or I don't have an address. All I have is a phone number or an email address or whatever. And if all else fails, just ask them. Just say, can I get your address? I got a couple things I want to send you. And if they say no, then they say no. If they say yes, go ahead and do it. But text, emails, physical, snail mail. So one of the things that I really rely on in my customer aftercare, and if you read through my reviews online, I would say about 25% of them mention it. And they always say, I've never received a gift from a fishing guide before. I fished with guides all over the world and I've never received a gift. And so I'm going to show you today exactly, so that there's no vagueness here. This is exactly what my customers get when they go on a fishing trip with me. And I'll try to hold this up. This is a nice little shrink wrap bag, little basket. It's got a little bow on top. It's one of those little gift bags that you hit with a hairdryer and it shrinks it up. And I'm going to go ahead and open this one up. Sorry for the noise. And I'm going to show you what's inside. And every one of my customers gets it. It doesn't matter if they take a full day trip, a half day trip, casting lesson. It doesn't matter if they spend $100 with me or if they spend $500 with me. They all get this gift bag. So the first thing they get is a nice t-shirt. I've already asked them what size t-shirt they wear. If I want to make it a surprise, I'll say, what size shirt do you wear? So that I have the right size life jacket. A little bit of a white lie, but basically I'm able to find out what size they have. And you'll notice that, of course, the t-shirt has my logo on the front and on the back. They get a bottle of beer, actually 2 bottles of beer inside of a koozie. And lo and behold, branded koozies with contact information. Nice beer, Shiner box. And of course, you need a bottle opener with my logo on it. I haven't figured out how to put my logo on Chex Mix bags yet, but I'll figure that out. You also get wrapped up in nice tissue paper, 2 very nice beer glasses with, lo and behold, my logo. All fishermen wear sunglasses, a nice neoprene glass holder with a little clip, and a floating, by the way, logo on both sides. Nice neoprene glass retainer that floats, so if you drop your sunglasses over, nice lens cleaning tissue, and if I took it out, you'd see that my logo is on it. Let's see, what else do we have here? We have 2 stickers. Fly fishermen are notorious sticker hounds. They put stickers on everything. So I have 2 nice stickers. I've seen these, by the way, on trucks as far away as Houston and Dallas when I go to do presentations. Always makes me feel good. Another beer glass. So they got 2 beers and 2 beer glasses. A little notepad with my contact information and logo on it. And a refrigerator magnet. That's my business card. And just because of COVID, we're also giving away nice face masks with my logo on it. Now, it may just seem that I'm just super egotistical and I put my logo on everything, but I have had numerous clients where their wives or their husbands or spouses get jammed up for a present. They don't have any idea what to get their spouse. And all of a sudden, they look in the cabinet, there's my beer glass. Or they look in the drawer, there's my koozie. And they think back, they thought, wow, they had a great experience fishing with this guy. I'll use that. It's unbelievable how many trips that I sell because of this stuff. Now, you saw what everything went into that basket. Those baskets cost me around $20 to $25, depending on how I purchase things. Now, obviously, for some of you that are selling low dollar items, 7-Eleven isn't going to give you a $20 gift basket for buying a Slurpee. Okay. My average bill on a trip is between $350 and $500. I can afford to give clients a $20 gift basket. If that turns around and turns into another trip or turns into 5 other trips, it is well worth it. They get these every time. It's very consistent. A lot of my customers know they're going to get them. And they request things. They'll say, you know what? I got a bunch of beer glasses. I also do highball glasses with spirits. And they'll say, you know what? I got plenty of beer glasses. Let's do highball glasses this time. Or I had a customer tell me the other day, his kid left for college and stole every one of his Hill Country Fly Fishers beer glasses and took them to college with him. So he said, you know what? I need to restock on my beer glasses. So instead of giving him all the other stuff, I gave him 12 beer glasses. He loved it. Absolutely loved it. So having swag that you give people, that is important. But, and this is critical with giving away things to your clients, do not, I repeat, do not give them useless items, because that just becomes a burden for them. They just have to get rid of them. They have to throw them away and they feel guilty for doing it. There is nothing that I give people that is not useful. Fishermen have eyeglasses. They always carry sunglasses. They usually are expensive polarized sunglasses. A floating eyeglass strap with a neoprene cover, beautiful, perfect. They're going to use it over and over again. They're going to have it forever. If they get one on the next trip, they just give it to somebody else, or they replace their used and worn out one with a new one. Always make that stuff useful. And the other thing is, always have your brand on it. When people see this logo, I don't know if you can see it. It's the little Hill Country Fly Fishers logo. I want them to immediately think of me. When you see the little swoosh for the Nike shoe, you don't have to see the word Nike to know what they mean. When you see the little swish for Coca-Cola, same thing. You don't have to look and see, are they talking about Coca-Cola? Of course they are. I want my brand to absolutely permeate the fly fishing community, to when they see it, they know this is a quality product. This is Kevin Hutchison. This is his business, and this is what they do. So be very careful about that. Make the items useful, but make sure that you put your logo on them. Another thing you can do too is if you have big corporate accounts. I do work for Schlumberger, Halliburton, big accounts like that. I personalize it. I'll put their logo right along with my logo. I do stuff for Northern Trust, which is a big asset investment company. It's one of the top 5, I think, in the country. I do stuff for them every year, and we always co-brand everything. I co-brand it with them, and that way I get credibility from their brand and from my brand. So make sure that your name's on it. Make sure that they can trace it back to you. I want them to feel good about it. A couple years ago, I did a contest where I gave away a $450 trip to the person who sent me the coolest picture of any of my stuff, t-shirt, can, koozie, beer glass, whatever, just the coolest picture of that stuff being used. And when I got the winning entry, and I wish I had it with me, when I got the winning entry, I knew it was going to be the winner. And it was by far the slickest one. And somebody had taken one of my t-shirts to China, and they had somehow convinced a guard on the Great Wall of China to slip my t-shirt on over his uniform. And there was this very formal guard standing guarding the Great Wall of China with a Hill Country Fly Fishers t-shirt on. And that was the winner for sure. But the point is that I stayed engaged with my customers. I offered them a contest. I made it fun, and all of that swag that I'd given out over the years, I got thousands of pictures back. And it showed that my customers are still engaged. And that's how you keep good customers. And that's what customer aftercare is about. So, mission accomplished on that. Um, One of the other things that you can do in customer aftercare that doesn't cost you anything is to simply make your customers aware that you are available anytime to help them with any problems they may have regarding whatever you do or whatever you sell, or literally what anything else. And a good example of that is today. I got a text message today from one of my customers who knows that my wife owns a logo business, and he is trying to repair a banner that he has for his business that tore. And somehow we got on the topic of my wife's business, and he wrote me a letter and said, "Look, this banner's torn. Maybe your wife can help me fix it. I need some kind of tape, but I don't know what kind of tape I went." I simply went to her and said, "Torn banner, what kind of tape?" Took her 3 seconds. She handed me a roll of tape, had all the information on it. I texted it to him. He's overjoyed. Did that have anything to do with fly fishing? Absolutely not. Will he remember that? Absolutely. Will he come back and fish with me again? Probably, because I was the guy that went out of his way to give him that information. And while we're on this topic, I want to talk a little bit about competition. Customer aftercare is one of those things where you have to forget competition. And that may be hard for some of you, but there are certain things that I do not do in the fly fishing world. I do not offer fly fishing trips on the coast. People always ask me, "Oh my goodness, my family's going down to Port A for vacation. I want to go fishing. Who should I use?" Now, basically, what they're saying is, "I'm not going to spend money with you. I'm going to go spend money with one of your competitors. Which one would you like me to spend it with?" So I am never afraid to recommend a competitor when they do something I do not do. Obviously, if someone comes to me and it's a service that I offer, I will always offer my service first, but I will always try to help them find the correct service provider. So even if it is something that I offer, and for whatever reason my customer doesn't want to use me to do that, I will always try to find them the best fit, even if it is with a competitor. And that may seem very counterproductive, but that's what customers remember. When you only recommend your service and you recommend that you do a service that you really don't do, but you're so set on keeping that money, it is penny wise and pound foolish, because you will mess up, and that will be the impression that they have of you, is that you looked at them just like a paycheck, not as a customer. I never ever look at my customers like a paycheck. It's raining outside today, and it's been raining for a few days. And I always laugh because I always put a number value on every rainstorm. And it rained on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And I had trips scheduled Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So that was a $1,500 rainstorm. Everybody's all excited because their gardens got water and everything was great and their creeks all filled up. To me, that cost me $1,500. And I kind of do it jokingly to myself. I never say that to customers, but I kind of do it jokingly to myself. But it kind of grounds me, and it reminds me that this isn't just about money. I do what I do because I love what I do. I love serving customers. Obviously, I want to make money at it, and I have made money at it. But I truly believe I've made money at it because I respect my customers and I don't look at them as if they were solely paychecks, solely dollar bills. I look at them as people and I respect that. I'm not going to take people out when I know the water conditions are wrong. It's just ridiculous because that is short-sighted. That is to get the money now and not in the future. I never look like that. I never look at a customer as one trip. I look at a customer as 6, 7, 8, 9 trips. That's the way I have survived for as many years as I have. And that's why I put so much effort into customer service up front, customer service in the back end. So don't be afraid to recommend your competitors. And a lot of times it works out for the better because they'll go and they'll, in my case, they'll go fish with somebody else and find out that they're not going to get a great lunch, that they're not going to get a gift basket at the end of the trip. They're not going to get anything that I do. And that makes me look that much better. And I don't have to say it. They come back and
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt
went
this.
into Apple Lumber this morning. Whoop.
Kevin, I'm sorry, you froze just for a minute.
Oh,
And so if you just want to, you had just finished telling your story about customers not getting gift baskets from your competitors.
oh, okay. Okay, sorry about that. Am I back? Am I unfrozen?
You are unfrozen, so you
Oh,
can
good.
just start right where
I
you
didn't
were.
even feel cold. It's amazing. Anyway, my point was that if you recommend your competitor and they go and they have a less than stellar experience, that helps you. So don't be afraid of that. There's a guy who owns a fly shop in Round Rock named Chris Johnson, and he's a fishing guide. He is a direct head-to-head competitor with me. He invites me to his shop at least 3 times a year to give presentations to try and win customers from his customers. It's unbelievable. But Chris has loyal customers that will never fish with me no matter what. And Chris is not self he's very self-assured. He doesn't have any kind of problem bringing in customers. There may be somebody that enjoys fishing with me more than him. And if he puts us together, it still looks good for him. So, point being, don't be afraid of your competition. Lean into it a little bit, outsell them or, outperform them, but let them, let your customers have access to them. One of my other points, and I kind of brushed on this before, it's very important to let your customers know that you are here for them no matter what the problem is. If they need help with, um, I know I talked to somebody before we went on, and she had gone to a fishing program that I interact with. And she had said that she learned how to cast, but she didn't really learn how to tie all the knots and do everything else. And she lives here in town. You know what? I just told her straight up, come on by and I'll teach you how to do all that stuff. And, will she become a customer? Who knows? Who cares? It's just me trying to help. And the more you can be helpful, the more you can help people along their journey, no matter what product you sell, have a positive experience with that product. That's going to reflect great on you. That's customer aftercare. And this person's not even one of my customers. And, I'm still open to that. Make sure your customers know they can contact you. You want to be the point guy. You want to be the answer man. If you don't know the answer, you find somebody that does and you hook them up. So don't be afraid to let people know that. You do get a couple weird phone calls. I've had a couple at inappropriate times of the morning or the evening to ask really silly questions, and you just answer them and you try to be cordial. And then sometimes you remind them what time it is. But anyway, um, the last thing I'm going to talk about is leaving customers with the feeling that you want to convey about your business. At that last moment of interaction, whether it's at a retail store when they're walking out of the store with something or with nothing other than information, or when it's like me on a trip where they've spent the whole day with them. One of the things that I always do, and I didn't bring any with me, but I have water bottles, and I put custom logos on my water bottles that say Hill Country Fly Fishers. And folks are walking off to their cars, getting ready to drive home, wherever it is, whether it's a 30-minute drive or 2-hour drive, and I hand them an ice cold bottle of water, and it's got my logo on it. And it's a business card. I've just handed them a business card that's useful because everybody at the end of a long day wants a nice cold drink. So I've handed them that, and they drive off with that in their hand, and that's a great feeling. I always say thank you. I always let them know how much I appreciate their business and that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for their support. And I love to use the word support much more than I do business. I always tell people, rather than say thanks for the business, and you see that a lot. You see that on little stamps and you see it on the bags. I always like to tell people thanks for your support, because that's what they're doing. They're supporting me. They're paying my bills. They're allowing me to live, and that's support. And it makes people feel a little bit better sometimes about it than just saying thank you for the business, because that just seems kind of canned sometimes. I always say thank you for the support. Always make sure that that they understand that you look forward to seeing them again, whether it's to buy I went into Apple Lumber today and bought some plumbing fixtures, and I think my bill was $2.32. I don't think the people at Apple Lumber are going to take a 2-week vacation in Tahiti on my $2.52. But when I left, the guy wisely said, "Have a good day. See you again." You know, little thing, little purchase, but he had the right idea. Always set that in your customer's mind as they leave. I'd love to see you again. Hope to see you again. Look forward to fishing with you again. Whatever is appropriate for your business. Let them, the last words that are ringing in their ear is come back. I want you to come back. That's really, really important. And state that clearly. Don't be shy about it. Um, there's a saying when you take sales seminars, and I worked in retail for a long time, and it was ABC, the ABCs, and it's always be closing. And probably bad grammar, but true. Always be closing. Always try to be selling something. And don't do it overtly. Don't do it just in your face. But when you leave somebody and you say, you know what, I really look forward to fishing with you again, that's a little bit of a sales technique. That's you saying the last thing that you saw that person saying, you know what, I want you to come back. I enjoyed your business. I enjoyed you as a customer, and I want you to come back. Now, you'll have customers that you don't want to come back. I've spent 8 hours with people that I didn't want to spend 8 minutes with after I met them. And you know what? I don't say that at the end of the day. I don't say, I look forward to fishing with you again, because I don't. And luckily, I'm in a position in my business that I don't have to, that I can kind of pick and choose my customers. But overall, the last interaction that you have with that customer face to face, and this doesn't count emails and texts, face to face should be a positive thing. It should be we had a great time today. Let's do it again. Look forward to the next time. I look forward to meeting, whoever you want to bring next time. Make it a positive experience. So when they get in that car and they drive away, they have a great feeling. And that's what's important. That's what aftercare is about. It's about setting the tone, telling your business's story, telling your story, and making it match with your customer's story. So anyway, hopefully that gives you a few ideas. And I really hope that you guys have some questions, because much more than talking, which it sounds like I love doing, I love taking questions. So are there any questions, April?
As we wait to see if anyone wants to jump in, please feel free at any time. You talked a little bit about difficult customers. I am interested, you kind of talked a little bit about it,
Yeah.
but is there any value in word of mouth, even though you don't necessarily want to have those customers return? How do you recommend still dealing with those customers that are difficult?
That's a great question. And it comes up a lot, because I interact with people a lot via email and text messages. And sometimes I can get a feel for them. And sometimes I have just literally told people, after reading your text messages or after talking to you on the phone, I don't think I'm a good fit for you. But here's another guide that I think will be a good fit. And very often in the fly fishing community, we trade customers back and forth. My biggest competitor is a guy named Alvin Dido. He owns a big operation called All Water Guides. It's bigger than me, no doubt. And he has customers that just really don't get along with him. He has a very different personality than mine. And he will often call me and say, you know what, I've got this guy. I really don't enjoy him. Would you mind taking him out one time and seeing if he fits with you. And a lot of times it's just being honest with the customer and saying, you know what, our personalities just don't quite mesh up right, but I think I've got a guy for you. Now, what that does is two things. Number one, that gets that guy off your plate. And number two, it shows that you really do care about him, that you want him to have a good experience. And maybe your competitor would be a better experience. And so it's trying to take a negative and turn it into a positive. Now, there are some people that are just unbelievably horrible. I know I had a guy one day that just would not quit throwing cigarette butts in the river. And that's one of my pet peeves. And I said, look, just put them in the jar. Everything will be fine. I don't mind if you smoke. And he turned around and looked at me and put a cigarette out in about a $90 boat seat, just burned it into the seat and said, oh, I guess I just won't smoke anymore. Now, him, I'm not giving him to anybody. I just about threw him out of the boat at that point. And that's the nightmare customer. But I think what you're talking about is just somebody who may be a little difficult. Always try to be good because that word of mouth does count. Now, on the flip side of that, and I know this to be true because I know how I am with some of my friends. Sometimes when a friend of mine says, oh my God, that restaurant was horrible, it makes me want to go eat there because I know how picky they are or how quirky they are or whatever. They're still my friend, but I know that they have some unrealistic expectation or they just whatever. So it almost is like a positive out of a negative. They give a negative review and it makes me feel positive about the business. But most of the time, I go out of my way to kill those people with kindness so that they can never say to anybody that I didn't take care of them. So it's difficult. And sometimes you really have to swallow hard to do it. But that's the way I deal with them.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that feedback. So if I know some people that will be watching this, they sell big ticket items. So it might be a one time or two times in your lifetime purchase.
Sure, sure.
Do you have anything that you can kind of talk to them about? Because even though they sell those big ticket items, word of mouth for them is essential for the next guy that can do
absolutely
their big ticket items.
Yeah. So let's say they're a realtor and they're selling a $500,000 house or whatever. And yeah, you're not going to sell 6 of those a year to the same guy. That's not going to happen. You may sell one, you may sell two, but they're going to talk and they're going to tell all their friends. You know, I have a friend that works at a car dealership. And he said the dealership that he works at, it's up in Austin, it's a big one. I'm not going to say who it is. He said that when they're in their sales training meetings, they tell every new salesman that every potential car they sell could be 8 cars because if they provide good service, those people are going to come back 8 times to get vehicles. It may not be for them, it may be for their daughter, their son, or their mother, their elderly grandparent, whatever. They look at every single sale in that dealership as 8 vehicles. And the way they do that, the way they assure that is by giving good customer service before the sale, during the sale, and after the sale. You may not sell 8 cars to one guy, but you may sell 4 or 5 to him, but he may tell 5 or 6 people. And it's just a pyramid. They tell 5 or 6 and then 5 or 6 more people, 5 or 6 more people. And social media magnifies that immensely. If you have a beef with somebody, you can get on social media and air it out to a million people. And the converse is true. If you have a great experience with somebody, you can get on social media and say, oh my God, that April Daniels, I'm going to join the chamber because she did this or that, or she took care of me and she hooked me up with the right people. And bam, you cannot buy that kind of word of mouth. You cannot buy that kind of advertising. So even if you sell huge ticket items, it's still important. And the converse, the flip side is true. Even if you sell inexpensive items, I have a tendency when I'm home to go to 7-Eleven at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and buy a soda every day that I'm home. Just it's like a habit. And the reason I keep going back to that store is threefold. Number one, they're always open. Number two, they're always clean. And number three, the staff is always on point. They're always taking care of me. They're always saying thank you. They're very friendly. Anything I need, if they're out of cups, if they're out of lids, whatever, they take care of it. They're selling dollar items. They're not selling $500,000 homes, and yet they still provide that service. And that is the key. That is how you make it in business, is consistently taking care of your customers. Doesn't matter if you're selling a dollar item or a $500,000 house. So hopefully that answers your question.
Absolutely, that answered my question. I only have one more question from you that was just texted to me a few minutes ago.
Okay.
And this has to do with, and I think you really kind of touched on this already, but people are very interested in the idea of reaching out and touching those potential customers or those potential people that will give them some good word of mouth.
Uh-huh.
What are your thoughts on texting, like large texting to big groups? And this really says both texting and emailing, but
Uh-huh.
what are your, and you already kind of touched on this a little bit, but you might want to go back through it again. I know you talked a lot about personalizing messaging.
Yeah, yeah. And the way that I do that, because I and this is just my opinion, but I don't think that mass texting and mass email really works very well. I think it's very impersonal. I think people get annoyed by it. I know I go through my inbox every morning and just delete, 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 delete. The way that I get around that is very simple. Is I have a newsletter, and you opt into it. Doesn't go out to just anybody. It goes out to people that have told me via email or text, hey, I want to be on your newsletter. I want to know what's going on. I want to know if you're doing a workshop in Houston, I want to know about it. If you're doing a workshop in Dallas, I want to know about it. If you're doing a special event, I want to know about it. If you're doing a contest, I want to know about it. And so I've created this newsletter, this email newsletter thing. And unfortunately, I'm not very good at being consistent with it. But when I do put it out, it is only going to people that have told me, I want to be part of this. So it's not impersonal. I mean, it's not addressed directly to them, but it's not just scattergun. It's not just, doing that. Now, there are some places where that's appropriate, not many. But in the very early days of this business, I bought mailing lists. It was still when we did snail mail, but also email lists in the very beginning of emailing. I bought lists from fly fishing magazines where you just paid a set amount and you told them what area of the country you wanted to hit, or you could go all the way down to like county by county. And I bought, I was living in Austin, and I bought 4 counties around Austin, around Travis County. And I bought everybody that subscribed to this fly fishing magazine, and I sent out a mass mailer. And I probably spent, back then, this was 20 something years ago, I probably spent almost $1,000 on that. And I tracked it, and I got about $200 return on it. So bad investment, learned my lesson, never did it again. So I really think creating something like a newsletter or a blog or something that people have to opt into, where they say, I want to know about this. That's kind of what your Facebook page is. That's kind of what your Instagram page is. I don't force anyone to go look at my Instagram page ever. I can't. I don't force anyone to go look at my Facebook page ever. They go and look at it because they're interested in seeing what's going on. I keep it up to date. I post what I'm doing. I post pictures. I post funny stories, whatever it is. It's interactive with my client base, but it's not intrusive. I'm not sending them anything. They're coming to me and doing that. And the newsletter thing is the same thing. They've come to me at some point and said, I want to be part of this business. I want to know what you're doing. Please keep me up to date. That way I don't feel like I'm intruding on them. And there's always an opt-out button.
That was a great answer. Thank you very much, Kevin.
You bet.
I don't have any more questions, and unless I see something else popping up in the chat, I think that will conclude our question and answer session. Kevin, that was, as usual, very informative. I just so enjoyed your presentation today. And I want to remind those of you that are watching live or watching later virtually that Kevin has offered this class as well as another customer service class, all of which can be viewed online at smithfieldtx.org. Click on events and you'll see our virtual archive page. We have several classes coming up over the next several months, all the way through the end of August. So check that page for our mini classes that are coming up. I want to again thank Judy Bergeron with the Smithville Public Library, as well as our funding partners, for making this training class possible. And that includes our class for the day. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kevin.
You bet. Thank you. Enjoyed it.